The statement of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Narrated Abu Huraira, the Prophet said, faith belief consists of more than 60 branches I parts, and Haya, this term Haya covers a large number of concepts which are to be taken together. Amongst them are self-respect, modesty, bashfulness, and scruple, etc. is a part of faith. Narrated Abdullah bin Amr, the Prophet said, a Muslim is the one who avoids harming Muslims with his tongue and hands, and a muhajir emigrant is the one who gives up, abandons all what Allah has forbidden. Narrated Abdullah bin Amr, a man asked the Prophet, what sort of deeds or what qualities of Islam are good? The Prophet replied, to feed the poor and greet those whom you know and those whom you do not know. Narrated Anas, the Prophet said, none of you will have faith till he wishes for his Muslim brother what he likes for himself. Narrated Abu Huraira, Allah's Messenger said, by him in whose hands my life is, none of you will have faith till he loves me more than his father and his children. Narrated Anas, the Prophet said, whoever possesses the following 3 qualities will have the sweetness delight of faith. 1. The one to whom Allah and his apostle becomes dearer than anything else. 2. Who loves a person and he loves him only for Allah's sake. 3. Who hates to revert to atheism, disbelief, as he hates to be thrown into the fire. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar, once Allah's Messenger passed by an Ansari man who was admonishing his brother regarding Haya. On that, Allah's Messenger said, leave him, as Haya is a part of faith. Narrated Ibn Umar, Allah's Messenger said, I have been ordered by Allah to fight against the people until they testify that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah and that Muhammad is Allah's Messenger, and offer the prayers perfectly and give the obligatory charity. So if they perform that, then they save their lives and property from me except for Islamic laws, and then their reckoning accounts will be done by Allah. Narrated Abu Huraira, Allah's Messenger was asked, what is the best deed? He replied, to believe in Allah and his apostle Muhammad. The questioner then asked, what is the next in goodness? He replied, to participate in jihad, religious fighting in Allah's cause. The questioner again asked, what is the next in goodness? He replied, to perform Hajj, pilgrimage to Mecca Mubrar, which is accepted by Allah and is performed with the intention of seeking Allah's pleasure only and not to show off and without committing a sin, and in accordance with the traditions of the Prophet. Narrated Sa'd, Allah's Messenger distributed zakat amongst a group of people while I was sitting there, but Allah's Messenger left a man whom I thought the best of the lot. I asked, O Allah's Messenger, why have you left that person? By Allah, I regard him as a faithful believer. The Prophet commented, or merely a Muslim. I remained quiet for a while, but could not help repeating my question because of what I knew about him, and then asked Allah's Messenger, why have you left so and so? By Allah, he is a faithful believer. The Prophet again said, or merely a Muslim, and I could not help repeating my question because of what I knew about him. Then the Prophet said, O Sa'd, I give to a person while another is dearer to me, for fear that he might be thrown on his face in the fire by Allah. Narrated Ibn Abbas, the Prophet said, I was shown the hellfire and that the majority of its dwellers were women who were ungrateful. It was asked, do they disbelieve in Allah, or are they ungrateful to Allah? He replied, they are ungrateful to their husbands, and are ungrateful for the favors and the good charitable deeds done to them. If you have always been good, benevolent to one of them, and then she sees something in you not of her liking, she will say, I have never received any good from you. Narrated Al-Marur, I met Abu Dar who was wearing a cloak, and his slave, too, was wearing a similar one. I asked about the reason for it. He replied, I abused a person by calling his mother with bad names. The Prophet said to me, O Abu Dar, did you abuse him by calling his mother with bad names? You still have some characteristics of ignorance. Your slaves are your brothers, and Allah has put them under your command. So whoever has a brother under his command should feed him of what he eats and dress him of what he wears. Do not ask them slaves to do things beyond their capacity power, and if you do so, then help them. Narrated Al-Anaf bin Kays, while I was going to help this man Ali ibn Abi Talib, Abu Bakr met me and asked, where are you going? I replied, I am going to help that person. He said, go back, for I have heard Allah's Messenger saying, when two Muslims meet each other with their swords, both the murderer as well as the murdered will go to the hellfire. I said, O Allah's Messenger, it is all right for the murderer, but what about the murdered one? Allah's Messenger replied, he surely had the intention to kill his companion. Narrated Abu Huraira, The Prophet said, "The signs of a hypocrite are three. 1. Whenever he speaks, he tells a lie. 2. Whenever he promises, he always breaks at his promise. 3. If you trust him, he proves to be dishonest. If you keep something as a trust with him, he will not return it." Narrated Abu Huraira, Allah's Messenger said, "Whoever establishes the prayers on the night of Qadr out of sincere faith and hoping to attain Allah's rewards, not to show off, then all his past sins will be forgiven." Narrated Abu Huraira, the Prophet said, "The person who participates in holy battles in Allah's cause and nothing compels him to do so except belief in Allah and his apostles will be recompensed by Allah either with a reward or booty if he survives, or will be admitted to paradise if he is killed in the battle as a martyr. Had I not found it difficult for my followers, then I would not remain behind any Syria going for jihad, and I would have loved to be martyred in Allah's cause, and then made alive, and then martyred, and then made alive, and then again martyred in his cause." Narrated Abu Huraira, the Prophet said, "Religion is very easy, and whoever overburdens himself in his religion will not be able to continue in that way. So you should not be extremists, but try to be near to perfection and receive the good tidings that you will be rewarded and gain strength by worshipping in the mornings, the afternoons, and during the last hours of the nights." Narrated Al-Bara bin Azib, when the Prophet came to Medina, he stayed first with his grandfathers or maternal uncles from Ansar. He offered his prayers facing Beit al-Maqdis, Jerusalem, for 16 or 17 months, but he wished that he could pray facing the Kaaba at Mecca. The first prayer which he offered facing the Kaaba was the Asr prayer in the company of some people. Then one of those who had offered that prayer with him came out and passed by some people in a mosque who were bowing during their prayers facing Jerusalem. He said, addressing them, "By Allah, I testify that I have prayed with Allah's Messenger facing Mecca Kaaba." Hearing that, those people changed their direction towards the Kaaba immediately. Jews and the people of the scriptures used to be pleased to see the Prophet facing Jerusalem in prayers, but when he changed his direction towards the Kaaba during the prayers, they disapproved of it. Al-Bara added, "Before we changed our direction towards the Kaaba Mecca in prayers, some Muslims had died or had been killed, and we did not know what to say about them regarding their prayers. Allah then revealed, and Allah would never make your faith prayers to be lost. The prayers of those Muslims were valid." Narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, Allah's Messenger said, "If a person embraces Islam sincerely, then Allah shall forgive all his past sins, and after that starts the settlement of accounts. The reward of his good deeds will be 10 times to 700 times for each good deed, and one evil deed will be recorded as it is unless Allah forgives it." Narrated Abu Huraira, Allah's Messenger said, "If any one of you follows strictly his Islamic religion, then his good deeds will be rewarded 10 times to 700 times for each good deed, and a bad deed will be recorded as it is." Narrated Bibi Aisha, "Once the Prophet came while a woman was sitting with me. He said, 'Who is she?' I replied, 'She is so and so,' and told him about her excessive praying. He said disapprovingly, 'Do good deeds which is within your capacity without being overtaxed, as Allah does not get tired of giving rewards, but surely you will get tired, and the best deed act of worship in the sight of Allah is that which is done regularly.'"